How to get out of your own way in becoming a millionaire. I wanted to record this video as kind of a two-part. I think a lot of you guys have, the abundance of information and just kind of like awareness we all have as far as how can we make money. We see all these people making millions of dollars with crypto, and then we also see, all these people making money with all these different businesses, like me with YouTube, and you probably see a bunch of other people online. So for one fold, it's for those people that they see the strategies to make money online, they just don't know how to make progress. But then also, I've had a lot of people inside of my own personal community of people that I work with to help build YouTube channels and stuff. And I see a lot of them, we give them the information and they struggle to make progress for their own internal reasons. So I wanted to make this video for kind of both parties and anybody that I might possibly work with in the future. So this is something that I struggled with for a very long time, and I wanted to give it directly to you guys. So the first thing that was able to help me transition to when I had this big list of things that needed to get done that wasn't getting done to I'm able to get so much done that I'm like, what else is there to do? And I keep making more and more money with less and less effort. The difference was a very big shift with me internally. And it was a big shift in my identity and a big shift in my values. Previously, the person I identified as is I identified myself as a procrastinator. I identified myself as somebody that struggled to get things done. And now obviously this can go into a woo-woo subject of like, the whole Think and Grow Rich, or the Power of Now, or some Eckhart Tolle kind of jump bow, one bow stuff. But a lot of that is pretty substantial. Like a lot of it is the beliefs in the person that we label ourselves as, and the label that we give to ourselves that holds us back from making this progress. It used to be I would be able to create all these lists, all these things that needed to get done, and they just would sit there on a list. They would never actually get done, and invertedly, I wouldn't make any money. And then now it's like I said, it's very easy to make progress. If anything, it's easier to make progress than ever before because of this person that I've identified as. And that identity that I shifted was from somebody that was a procrastinator that wasn't able to make much progress, and I re-identified myself, and I kind of and when you say identify, it's just how you talk to yourself internally and how you label yourself in the conversation with other people that you go and meet. And so instead of identifying myself as a loser that wasn't able to do anything, I identified myself as somebody that gets stuff done when things need to get done. And instead of me not being good at making progress, I identified, and instead of having like failure be this thing that I was so fearful of and so afraid of, and instead I identified myself as someone that's a learner. And so it soon became this like kind of crumbling of me viewing failure as failure, and instead viewing failure as just creating data points and lessons that I can learn along the progress. And as I started to identify as a learner, everything started to become easier. I quit caring about whether or not this thing that I was doing in front of me was going to succeed or was going to fail. I didn't care. Like I realized that if I had less than 10 grand, it was basically the same as nothing, because I wanted to be at a point where I was doing, $50,000, $100,000 a month. When you're doing $100,000 a month, what's $10,000? And so I started to live in that future now. And not to say that I would just go blow money as fast as I can, but instead I viewed things as a decision that I would make, and whether or not that decision succeeded or it failed, I was able to add it as a data set in this whole grand scheme of things of me becoming a learner. And so you watching this video, failure is scary. We grow up being told that failure is us disappointing our parents. Failure is us getting a bad grade in school. Whereas in fact, the people that are the most successful, like I just went to this mastermind, I paid just about $100,000 to be at this thing. I think I did the math. It was like $97,000 I paid to be at this mastermind. And when I was there, the people that were the most successful, the people that were doing, $2 million a month, $5 million a month inside of that room, were people that had more lessons and more failures and more stories than anybody else. And they were the ones teaching from their stories and from their failures to the rest of the room. Part of it was they've just been doing it for a little bit longer than I have. The other part of it is they fail really freaking quickly, and knowing that as soon as they fail, they're gonna learn and then apply, change their direction and make sure to not make that failure again. And I think us as beginners, before we become a millionaire, we just don't have enough experience failing. And if we have failed, we took it the wrong way. They internalized this failure as a deficiency in our character and our personality trait, instead of this is just a part of the learning process. And so as soon as I was able to remove myself from it being like me and I was the reason why I failed, and labeling it as my character trait of failure, and me trying to not be a failure to my parents and to people I went to school with, and instead changed it in a direction of where these failures that I'm facing are the things that help identify me as a learner, and it's part of the process. Not only did I start to fail a lot less, not only did I start to make a lot more progress, but also life got a lot better as well. Like, it just became a lot less stressful of making decisions. I think a lot of it's like in business and making money is a lot of making good decisions and making lots of decisions. And the best way to become a good decision maker is to make a lot of decisions and to learn from all these decisions that are made. You can obviously study other people's decisions, but a lot of it was I just made decisions. Just knowing that on the other side of that decision, probably won't see success, but on the other side of that decision, I will succeed, or like I will have another data point or something that I'm able to learn from the process. And so instead of viewing yourself as soon as you fail that you're a failure, because it's so easy in this world that we live in now, like I said, with school, with our parents, in life, as soon as we fail, we identify ourselves as a failure, and that's just like, that means you're a piece of shit in society. Instead of viewing it as you're a piece of shit, instead realize this is you becoming an entrepreneur. This is you becoming a millionaire. Millionaires, if you label yourself, if you want to become a millionaire and you want to label yourself as that person, people that become millionaires are people that are good at making decisions. And the best people at making decisions are people that have just had a lot of repetitions of making decisions and getting good at understanding what are the best of decisions that they're able to make. I've made a reference in other videos about things like batting average for baseball players, and this batting average, you know, a lot of like the best players in the league are someone that's able to hit the ball 30% of the time. And that means the other 70%, they don't get on base. They strike out, or they hit a ball into the air, or they hit a ground out or something like that. And so they're the best players in the world are the people that are just winning, that are sucking a little bit less than everybody else. And that's the same thing for business. It's like Warren Buffett talks about. The thing about business versus baseball is that you can hit a home run that scores you so many points that it can set you up for the rest of your life. You can hit a home run so large that it scores you, instead of, let's say, like up to 4 runs in baseball, you're able to score 1,000 runs in business, all off of one swing. And so it's getting really good at the swing. And that is what is becoming a millionaire in this society that we live in. And so another identity shift that I had for myself was switching myself to someone that takes action and moves quickly. So as soon as I started to, you know, like kind of let go of this weight of each individual decision, and realizing that a fast decision is better than an unmade decision, and a decision is better than an unmade decision, then I started focusing on taking action quickly. I focused on moving quickly, and I focused on just making progress and getting as far as I can. The best people that I saw that are making the most amount of money that I've met is they go really deep, really fast. When it comes to building a YouTube channel, or when I see like how I have success when I compare it to people that don't have success, is in the span of an hour, I will do the same amount of research that the average person takes 2 months to go and do. And that's because I move really quickly when I do things. I move fast, and after I get the data and I get the research and I get the information, I move quickly and I make a decision. And by the time I get like 10 videos out on a YouTube channel, or, you know, I get, you know, whatever, I get a lot of progress on a business, the other person is just barely getting started and just barely making their first decision. I already have thousands of data points by the time a person has like one decision. And that is what differentiates me from the other people that aren't making $300,000 plus a month and on track to making $1 million a month. And so for you and your own, like for you on this journey of becoming a millionaire is, and even if like you didn't grow up with a bunch of millionaires around you, you'll realize the main thing is just a lot of this pressure is things that we build up inside of our head. And a lot of it's like, if you read the book, The Winner Effect, an amazing book, I highly go advise reading it. A lot of life and winning and having really big monumental wins comes from the creation of momentum. And the way that we create momentum is we make lots of small little actions and progresses that we internalize as wins instead of a failure or whatever. We internalize as a data point and progress. And as we stack up this progress, and as we stack up these little micro wins, these small private wins that are like, you know, sound lame as when you're like talking about it, but to someone that's like, you know, more advanced, but they're wins nonetheless, like, you know, picking a direction for your business, rebranding your business, picking a name. All these things are very, like, you know, I guess meaningless if you compare it to the grand scheme of things, but each individual decision is progress nonetheless. And so when we stack up all these little 1% progress over the grand scheme of things, after, you know, let's say a month goes by and we've made like 1,000 little 1% progress markers, on the other side of it, we've had 1,000 times more progress than we had before. I think they say if you make 1% progress every single day, you'll be 32 times further than where you are right now. And so a lot of it is that momentum and that curation of building this persona and this character of someone that's making progress. So let me give you the sauce inside of here now. You know, I'm kind of talking foundationally inside of here, and then let me give you some, I guess, actions that you can do that I've done, maybe some weird shit that you can apply to your life to label yourself as somebody that's an action taker, identifies as someone that makes progress, and identifying as a learner for yourself. And so a few of these things is first of all, find some, like, what I like to do is I like to do a big brain dump of everything that I need to get done. And so I just did this I do it, you know, every week or so, every Sunday. What I'll do is I'll go on a notepad, pen and paper. I found it way better than doing like Apple Notes or whatever. You know, pen and paper, best way I found to do it. Just go and jot down everything on your mind that you need to get done. Everything. So I think I did it the other day, and I had like 30 things on my list. And then what I did is then I started categorizing it with the Eisenhower matrix. If you're unfamiliar with an Eisenhower matrix, I can pop it on the screen real quick. But the Eisenhower matrix essentially is you want to categorize things that aren't important and important, and then you want to label things as urgent and not urgent. And so when you do urgent, not urgent, important, not important, you'll graph everything out. So you want to obviously label the things that are urgent and important, and then you want to label the things that are urgent but not important, and then urgent, not urgent, and important, and then also not urgent, not important. All the things that are not urgent and not important, just kick those things off the list. You don't even have to do it. You know, and a lot of those things that maybe are not as important, you can just have them on there and realize that you probably don't even actually need to do that stuff. And so now what you need to do is kind of really find the categories are urgent and not important, and then also important and not urgent, and then start scheduling these things out. So then it'll take a list of 30 things down to this, you know, probably down to like 5 to 10 things that you actually need to get done. And then what you do is right there, real quick, before you even, you know, you're done with this exercise, 2 things. First of all, take a look at your calendar or look ahead of what's going on this week. If you aren't using a calendar, then highly advise it. What started really making a ton of money for me was when I started using a calendar. Funny enough, I didn't use one for the longest time. As soon as I started using a calendar, my life got like so much easier. It simplified so much more, and I was able to, you know, schedule in things that I needed to schedule in, and it made my life easier. So what I started doing was scheduling things in on my calendar and kind of just blocking different times out when I would get certain things done. So like if I needed to get this task done or this task done or this task done, etc. And then what I would do is to start building momentum, like we talked about with the winner effect book. What you want to do is find the things on that task list that are like some quick 5 to 20 minute activities, 5 to 10 minute tasks, and try to get a couple of those things done before the week starts, and just start building that momentum. So that way, as before the week even starts, you already got some things done, and you already kind of got this wheel churning of progress. Because the worst thing that you can possibly do is have like a long block of stagnation, and then you have like just this huge stack of things, this big ugly monster, and it's just very intimidating and like very difficult for you to make progress. So figure out the quick things that you can get done like really quick, just to kind of get those quick wins, even if they're not the most important things on the list, just some things that you can kind of get done quick to build that little bit of momentum. And then throughout the week, start kind of chunking down and knocking things off of this big list. And so now here's the thing. A couple things that I can see you guys running into is, first of all, if you have some big decisions on the list. If you have some things that are some big decisions on the list, let me move backwards for a second. When you're writing this list down, what you need to do is our brains work creatively a lot better when we're not editing our stuff. So when you're writing this list, highly advise just write the list and then don't do anything when it comes to the editing of it, of cleaning things up, or if there's duplicates or if categorization or any of that shit. Don't worry about any of that stuff until you get done like with the at least a big chunk of the list. So like, especially as I've been writing a lot of content for like emails and Twitter and making these videos and stuff, what I do is I just go and just get all of the ideas down, and then from there, then I go and clean it up after I've written everything down. So doesn't matter how you do it. It's okay if you have duplicates. It's okay if you write the same things multiple times. Don't go back and revise it. Just dump everything down. The next thing that I can see you guys running into is you'll see there's probably some big decisions that are on that list. And so when it comes to the decision-making process, like I said, some of these decisions are scary. It could cost money. There could be, whatever, all of these issues. This is what I found when it comes to decision-making. Maybe I can make a separate video on just purely decision-making. But what I found is when it comes to making big decisions, you want to get as much data as you can and you want to kind of like phase out the sections of the decision-making process. So maybe, for example, I'm trying to make a hire for my company or a big direction shift of my industry, but we'll say like the hiring process first. So what I'll do is I'll go and just like, if I'm hiring for a position, let's say someone that's like a, part of the operations for my company. Right now we're hiring a tech person for my company. So when it comes to hiring a tech person, which I have other people doing this for me, but if I were to do the hiring process for the tech, this is what I would do. I'd go watch a ton of videos about what are the perfect characteristic traits that you want to find in a tech person. I'd probably spend no more than like 30 minutes on this, okay? Maybe an hour. Then what I would do is I would go and try to interview as many tech people as I possibly can, so I could get as much data as I possibly can, and I would set a cap. I wouldn't let it take a whole month for this to make progress. What I would do is I'd set a deadline for this. So I wouldn't let it take a month. Instead, I would let it take, let's say, like a week. So in this week, I'm gonna set a cap. If it goes past longer than a week, then I'm just gonna make whatever decision that I have, and that is it, because I just, I wasn't able to make enough progress. Oh well, I'll have to deal with the consequences later. So what I do is I go and interview as many people as I possibly can to get as much data and feedback and getting a good understanding. And on each of these interviews, I'm gonna treat them as the educational and the learning process. I'm gonna go ask as many questions as I can, try to get them to kind of tell me what their job looks like, what their best experience looks like, what their worst experience looks like. Ask as many questions as my childlike brain can possibly ask. And then on the other side of it, if I didn't ask the right questions, it's okay. I don't look back. We're making a decision. We only move forward. We're not trying to move backwards. So now that I get as much information as I possibly can, I make the best decision that I possibly can. I'll even ask them pay structures, what's the best. I'll ask every question I possibly can in this section of the sector of my business to make the decision. And then I make the decision. And what I do is every so often, I will ask myself, maybe on a weekly or a monthly basis, was this a good decision? If it was, what can I learn from it? If it was a bad decision, okay, cool. How do we make a pivot? How do we go hire somebody else? Or what is there some experiences that we learned from this that we can do better next time? And, maybe we can go and share with somebody else that's hiring the same position, and we can tell them what they need to do better. So now that we've kind of got these few things down, making a list, making decisions. Now the next question that you probably, the next pitfall that I'm gonna see that you guys are gonna run into is a sector of like stagnation. If you guys are running into a point of stagnation inside of your lives, how do we get out of this stagnation point? How do we get out of being stuck doing the same things over and over again? Like stuck not making progress. And so if this is you watching this video and you're stuck making progress, at this point, it's all about just doing something. Anything is progress at this point. And it's not about beating yourself up if we make some progress and then we go back to not making progress. But what we want to do is we want to do something that's going to change your life. So one thing that you could do is, if you're watching this, to start building this habit, go on a walk. Start like just take this camera and this video and just start going for a walk. If it's dark outside, just just pace around your bedroom or something. Get up, go do something. I find it best if I'm like really stuck trying to make a decision, as I'm a very pro expert decision maker now at this point. What I do is I'll just leave the room that I'm currently in, and I will move somewhere else inside of the house, or I will go to another location and I will go somewhere else. That is why I travel a lot. If I'm feeling stuck in life, or I'm feeling stuck having trouble, I will just completely go to a different place. I will get a hotel room, even in the same city if I really have to. I will change my location, because as soon as I change my location, I start to kind of like, I disassociate with whatever the previous environment was. So if you're living a really weird, shitty, stuck life in your life right now, just go somewhere else. Get to a different place. Let's just get the out of this spot that we're in, building all these negative habits. Let's leave ourselves from the space. And then we want to disassociate all those emotions from whatever the hell you tied to your current spot. And when you come back, you want to clean it up, you want to reset it, maybe even like reset up the layout of your room. And what I commonly do is, when I'm working throughout the day, because I'll start to kind of I'll get tired, I'll get bored of doing stuff or whatever. I start to kind of get, sometimes I'll run into the issues you guys run into. And what I will do is I'll switch up my location. So if you were to like hang out with me all day, watch me work, you'll notice that I won't work in the same position all day. I'll actually go and work I'll go switch the spots that I'm working 10, 15 times a day. And it's because I found that if I stay in one spot and I transition, let's say I go from a meeting to then having to do some work, it's hard for me to get that work done if I'm locked into this one environment or this one position. So I found, for me, a little trick that I do is I will switch my location multiple times throughout the day. I will take multiple breaks throughout the day, and I will constantly keep things moving, just as I'm trying to constantly move forward and make direction and make progress. I myself will constantly change the location physically that I am in to change the state of mind that I'm in. So at my home office, or at my house, what I will do is I will take this laptop and I will go start off my mornings. I'll start working in the backyard. And then when I get tired of that, I'll go inside and I'll switch over to my desktop and I'll work on the desktop. And then I have a standing desk, so sometimes I'll stand up. And then I'll go back outside, and then I'll go back to the desk, and then I'll go back outside, and then I'll go to another table outside. If you go to my house, we have 5 different places I can work. A lot of the Airbnbs, if I'm booking a place to go stay, I'm at an Airbnb right now, I will go to this place has 7 different working spots. There's a desk in the bedroom, and then a desk outside, and there's another table outside, and then there's a lounging spot outside, then there's the dining table, then there's the living room. And what I'll do is I'll constantly switch the spots that I'm at throughout the day, and I'll work for an hour at one spot, I'll switch over to another spot, I'll get up, I'm constantly working all day, and I set it up so I can constantly be working, but my environment is constantly changing. So that's the main thing, is you want to identify yourself. We want to fix our identity, and we want to change our values, and we want to value progress. We want to value making progress. We want to value taking action and moving quickly, and just understanding that we're probably going to fuck up in every single way possible. And the faster that you make those mistakes, the faster that you're able to make progress, and the faster that you're able to make a change in direction in your life.